Hello, good evening. I swear I'm not trying to make this a habit. This is definitely not going to be a habit. It is 11:44. Um so tomorrow I have just quick before I do like the recap of the day. Tomorrow I'm going to be setting up all of the what's it called? Doing the weekly compiling of everything. So I want to get into a good routine with that. But yeah, okay. So I woke up at like 9:30 or something. Um, had some like weird dreams, and I was like, oh, okay. Um, listened to the book a little bit that I'm reading, and yeah, it just it just sucked me in basically. But I knew that I was going to be going to the movie at around, well, the movie was 12:10, disclosure day, and so I was pretty excited. I'm like, okay. Uh, so I did that, and then I'll talk about the movie in a second. I have a lot of things to say about the movie. But so I watched the movie. Afterwards, then we went to the local library. They had like a little book sale, so we hung out there. Then we got some food. This is me and my roommates and the friend. So yeah, basically did that, and by the time we got back, it was like 7, like 6:37, and yeah, we were just out like most of the day. So the only time I really could have recorded anything is right when I woke up, which I could have, but I didn't really have much to really talk about. So it would have been a really short, like, okay, this is a short one. Okay, bye. So yeah, so that's why it just didn't. I didn't record it. However, that doesn't mean that I don't like the morning stuff. Um, it's nice. It sets up like a grounding thing for the rest of the day. So yeah. Um, anyway, so the movie. Just first of all, if you're gonna go watch it and you're excited to watch it or whatever, I'm gonna be talking about the movie in a decent amount of detail. If you're one of those people who wants to go in blind and not hear anything about it, then just skip ahead. Uh, I'll I'll do this, and then you'll know. I guess I don't know. Uh, so I'll do that. So you just skip through the video. Um, I don't know, like 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll see it. So yeah, so that is the thing, is the hands being all weird. Anyway, so first, here's my overall thoughts. The movie felt both more and less than I was expecting. Um, I say more in so much as they cover like psionics and honestly, like, I think it's really interesting how they went about doing the, like, there's literal mind control. I'm like, holy fuck. Like, you know, I kind of, it's already been kind of heavily hinted that mind control could actually be a thing that could happen. Now, I don't know the specifics on what you have to do in order to be mind controlled or all of that stuff, but like, there's been, you know, advertising and stuff is a more subtle form of mind control. Guiding perceptions and stuff like that. That's a lot more subtle and not like what we would consider to be like, I am taking control of your mind, you know, kind of thing. But in the movie, they just straight up did that. They also mentioned how people who have experienced alien abductions are like immune, or it's really hard to mind control them because, sorry, it just glitched out. So the mind control, people who have had like alien abductions and whatnot, there's kind of this like, apparently there's this extra buffer that makes it really hard to mind control. And the mind control, it's like, it's one step beyond a very well documented thing within the government, which is remote viewing. So effectively, in the movie, they do remote viewing, and then they kind of, due to some sort of alien object, which we find out later is like part of a thing that aliens were doing to this, like, these kids, that, you know, it's like, it's integral to the whole plot of the thing. And so this kind of like, this interface of like, well, you're not just remote viewing, you're taking over control of someone's body to like make them do things, and answer questions against their will. So there was like that, and you know, we're introduced to that pretty early in the movie. And so I'm thinking, oh my god, this is the start of the movie. There's going to be so much crazy shit going on. And then they kind of do the classic, well, it's a movie, so we got to have like a car chase and, you know, a bunch of bad guys trying to kill the two people that are trying to like run away and all of this stuff. And it kind of, number one, and my roommates mentioned this, and I totally agree with them, a lot of people in the movie felt really incompetent. Like, it was, it kind of felt like the Three Stooges all like trying to like do things and just kind of half doing them or failing, and it's like, unfortunately, because it's a movie, there's this line that they're kind of straddling where they're trying to make it, on some aspects, like, okay, we're trying to ground it in reality, so it makes you feel like it's more believable that this stuff is happening. In the same moment as them being like, but it is a movie, so we're gonna be like crazy and do stuff. And so it just does a really big disservice to the movie because they don't go far enough on the alien side of things and the crazy technology and all of this other stuff. They really don't like go far enough. But they go, in the same token, far enough to where you can just like hand wave it as like, well, if you don't know anything about the alien topic at all. You don't know about like astral projection or remote viewing. You don't know anything about like the reverse engineered technology or, you know, just like the list of things that have kind of slowly been disclosed over time and have been brought to the forefront. It'll just seem like, okay, it was a very boring fucking like milk toast like movie about people, and the alien thing was kind of in the background. And the big reveal towards the end is like, oh, it's like they finally got to do the thing, and you know, they disclosed everything to the people, and the people's reaction was just like staring at their screen. There's like these panning footage of like everyone looking at their phones or watching TV or whatever. And it's like there's no reactions at all. They're just watching. And I'm like what the fuck? Um and you know, then they have at the end like they show like an alien, they show a gray. And they've shown the grays throughout the movie a couple times, through like footage or whatever. And so, you know, having like a gray wheeled out in a wheelchair with a bunch of like protective equipment in order to keep the gray like kind of safe. Um, and then the gray like saying a couple words to the main character, and then the main character whispering to the other person, and then the other person is like, okay, here's the deal, and then that's the end of the movie, is like such a bullshit thing. um and so this is where it's like frustrating because on the one hand you have a lot of really interesting concepts that they're bringing up, where it's like, okay, they're bringing up like the alien abduction stuff of like, okay, the aliens are abducting you for something, but it's actually like more, it's like they're not trying to like probe you or like do some evil thing to you. They're more like, we're trying to like help you in some way so that you can communicate with us, or you know, things like that. So there's that aspect. There's the remote viewing. There's the like, the thing about animals keeps getting brought up, which again, it's like there are these small little details where um, the animals showing up and interacting with certain people, it's like, yeah, that happens. And so it's like there's a lot of like underlying like truth of like, yeah, this stuff kind of happens, but then it's kind of bogged down by this really bad like milk toast narrative of like some desk worker being like, ah, fuck them for keeping everything. I'm the cybersecurity guy, and now I'm gonna release everything to the public. And then like, it just like is them getting trying to be killed a bunch, and then and that's like a 2 hour thing. It's like an hour and a half of them like almost being killed a bunch of times, being captured, being not captured, all this stuff. Um, and then it was interesting how one of the main characters just straight up is like doing the flow thing. You know how I've talked about kind of letting go and kind of following your intuition? Well, the main character does this on a deeper level where they're like super psychically open, and they're like they see someone and they interact with that person and they say the thing. And this gave me a little chills because I was like, oh fuck, like I've had instances of this happen to me throughout my life. Not into the extreme detail that this person has, but it's like I'll be called to randomly go and interact with this person. I'll say something, and then that's it. And I don't really see them anymore. And then I might find out at a later point, years down the line, that like, oh, that was like a really important moment for me, and I really appreciate that you said the thing. I don't know why you said what you said, but like it really helped me, and blah blah blah, whatever. And so she was having the one of the main characters, she was having this happen kind of like in real time with like everyone. So it was obviously exaggerated because it's a movie. But I do think there are people out there like this where they're very open and they're in tune and they can just kind of see into people and understand them at a really deep level and be able to like know things about them. You know, again, it's the psychic link where it's like we're all linked together, we're all one being. And so this person's kind of tapping into that. And you know, she doesn't know what she's saying to the person. She just says the thing, and then that's it. So she was channeling this like these like words to the people. And so like I haven't gone through like a channeling experience like that. It's more of like I know I'm supposed to talk to this person. I just say what I'm thinking and then that's it. And maybe that's channeling, is saying what I'm thinking. Because I don't like think about it, I just say. But like, yeah. Anyway, so my point is like it's really sad that this movie kind of misses the mark on like in so many ways, because it's like it wasn't really about disclosure. It was like a meta analysis of like all the weird phenomenon stuff, and it didn't go into enough detail to really like do the interesting stuff. It's just like, oh, here's the Greys. Oh, here's some footage of alien craft. Now, obviously, it's in like higher definition than you would expect from these older videos, but like, it's like, okay, like, yeah, I mean, we've already seen that in a lot of the other stuff that's been released by the government and all of that stuff. And I don't doubt that there's tons of HD videos of alien craft and like alien biologics and all of that stuff. So I don't doubt that that exists. I just think that it's kind of not interesting enough for a movie. And so, you know, you're kind of waiting throughout the whole movie for the real interesting stuff to happen. And it just kind of, it's like, okay, there's a Grey in a wheelchair at the end. We don't even get to see the reaction of the people. There's this weird, like, plot point of, like, World War III in the background. And it's like, okay. But, like, there's really, like, it's the whole, like, oh, it's open-ended for the end of, like, who knows what's going to happen after that. It's just about the day of disclosure, and that's it. And I think it just kind of, it's like, who is this for? It's not for people who are like super into alien, like, you know, learning about the alien stuff. It's not into people that are super spiritual, because it's kind of like, it's like, well, yeah, you go into the flow state, and that's like, okay, cool. Like, we know this. So it's like, who is this for? Is it for like random people who have never experienced aliens and like, whoa, this is all mind blowing? And it's like, I don't know. Like, uh, it just feels like I don't know who the target demographic for this is. Um, and so that's where it's like, do I think people should watch it? Yeah, probably. I think so. Because there's a lot of like, so the thing about the animals and about like aliens using animals to kind of interact with humanity, or they had this like, so they had this like thing, alien tech, that helped amplify in order to do like the psionic abilities. And when they use it, they can alter perception, so it looks like you can be invisible from and invisible not in the traditional sense, but in the like awareness sense, where it's like it's not like an invisibility cloak. It's more like a perception alteration. So yeah, it's like there's a lot of little subtlety there. Um, and I don't know. It's one of those things where like, my roommates were complaining about how this like little alien tech thing just did everything. And I'm like, yeah, because like all the things it's doing, like it's all interfacing with the human mind. And the human mind's incredibly powerful. And these things could, like, with enough amplification, yeah, it totally could be like a thing that you could do. Um, because you're not like the invisibility thing. You're not bending light particles around you or like making you literally translucent or anything like that. It's a mind alteration. And so yeah, like you can alter the perception of people. Um, Same with the remote viewing. You can also do that. The mind control thing is like a larger extension where this guy is like struggling to do the mind control thing. And he's like, there's like a bunch of people around him trying to like make sure that he doesn't die, because this is incredibly dangerous. And you can see um, inexperienced people, the way they interact with this like alien tech thing versus other people. So yeah. Anyway, trying to think, is there anything else I want to talk about when it comes to this? Yeah, it's just overall it's like it's a little disappointing, because they introduce things that are interesting, but they didn't do it in an interesting way, and they spent way too long trying to be like, oh yeah, we're a movie, we gotta like keep people interested. And it's like, one of my roommates mentioned the idea of like, this is less interesting than just a documentary. Like, I had uploaded a documentary on the South America. There was a South American like crash back in the 90s or 80s. I think it was the 90s, but like, it was very interesting. And the movie just kind of like took a bunch of scenes of like, potential alien like disclosure stuff of like different scenes, and they just kind of threw it all together and was like, oh, there it is at the very end, and now we have disclosure. And it's like, you could have cut the movie down, the part that exists, cut it down to like an hour, and then put another hour in at the end of like what happens after disclosure. Like, okay, how does the government respond? How do people respond on average? Like, are there people like, they kind of did that with like a couple people at a grocery store getting toilet paper and like filling up on gas. It's like one scene. And it's like, oh, everyone's thinking it's going to be the end of the world. But it's like, that was more in reference to the World War III thing. So I'm like, I don't know. So yeah. So it's kind of, I think it's worth a watch, but also I think it's like one of those things where you have to look at all the little details sprinkled in there to kind of fully understand the nuance. But even then, it's like, it's interesting, but it's also like I don't know. I'm gonna go see it again with my buddies this week sometime. And so I'm interested to see how it holds up a second time through. Because it's like, I was like fully like watching, and I didn't feel bored. Like, all my roommates felt bored, as far as I can tell. One of the friends was like, oh my gosh, like, I hate this movie. It's like a 1 out of 10. I hate this so much. I just hate that it was so long. And then, there was a mix of like, it was not good, this, why, whatever, And I'm more of like, I don't know, I feel like it's like a 5 out of 10. Like, I don't think it's terrible, but I also definitely think that they missed the ball. So yeah. Anyway, let me do the okay. So I did the thing. I talked a lot longer than I wanted to about that movie. But yeah. Anyway, worth a watch. 5 out of 10. There are issues, but yeah. Okay. Is there anything else I want to talk about? We're running on 22 minutes. I don't know if I feel too bad about making this a short one. It is already 12. I want to go to bed. I do plan on doing a lot more walks this week. I looked and I was like, oh, I only did one walk with camera this week. I did do 3 longer walks throughout the week. It's just that I just didn't film them all. So yeah, I definitely, I want to get 3 nice, like, long walks, chatting, and then I guess just get into more of a groove. Also, something I want to bring up that I kind of didn't talk about. I kind of realized one of the reasons I was struggling with the food so much is I was so worried about what the future food was going to look like in, a month and a half, because that's about how long I have left. We're 2 weeks in. So, in this month and a half, like, I'm going to eat a certain way, and then it's like, oh no, and then how am I going to eat that way after? So it's like, well, is it worth it to eat that way for the month and a half? And I realize it's a false equivalence of, like, it doesn't matter what the future's going to look like. I'll be able to eat however I'm going to eat. I'll figure it out. But it shouldn't make my current decisions different or less healthy because I don't know what the future's going to look like. So that's something important that I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, I understand. So, I'm going to focus down on the food stuff. Other than that, there really is, something to the idea of really letting go. And I'll just say, this isn't a spoiler or anything, but in the movie, they did mention several times about this idea of, like, letting go in order to, like, do the thing. And listening to your intuition. And I'm like, yeah, fuck. Like, obvious, but, my logic brain doesn't want to do that. So, it's hard to get the two to fit. And it's so funny, the person yesterday that I went and saw at the for the reading, she also said, like, well, yeah, like, you obviously, this is what you struggle with, is, like, integrating the logic with the intuition. That's just like, that's like a life thing that you're struggling with, and you're just gonna have to figure that out throughout your whole life of, like, how to make that work. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So, but anyway, so I just finished the book. I thought about maybe I can do like a book review on that book, but I don't actually think I want to do it that way. What I think I want to do, since I picked out the newest book that I want to start listening to tomorrow, I want to, every 100 chapters, because 100 chapters for me is, let me look. It's like 6 or 7 hours of, like, reading. So I just did the 6-7 thing without even meaning to. But anyway, so yeah, it's like around that 7-hour mark, depending on what it is. So I think, maybe it'll be every 50 chapters. I don't know. But I think what I'll do is I'll start filming a little side series on reviewing the little set of content, talking about the things I really like about whatever the thing is, what my hopes are, so on and so forth. I think that would be really fun. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll start with this new book that I'm gonna start reading tomorrow. So, yeah. And I will say, just as a side thing, the book that I was reading, I guess I'll do a quick like thing about it. So the book is called Wizard Starting from the Skill Tree. Okay. Now, I'm just going to say up front, a lot of the books I listen to or read are books that, they're either web novels or they're translated. They could be on like Audible. There's a few different ways I go about getting these books and listening to them / reading them. I have a what's it called? I use Natural Reader, which is an AI kind of text to speech thing that has some pretty decent like voices, and I will plug the book in if I want to like walk around and do stuff, or I'll just read it while like waiting for stuff to upload or whatever. But the three kind of main areas, there's like a bunch of web novel sites. There's also there's Audible, and then the third kind of area is Royal Road. So there's a lot of like self-published, new author, whatever. And a lot of times, a lot of the Royal Road stuff gets posted onto Audible or Amazon's like books. And yeah, it's cool. So yeah, that's kind of like where I get a lot of the books that I read. So this next one that I'm going to be reading, and I'll just say the titles are fucking ridiculous sometimes. So this next one is called Wizard Unlimited Profession Slots. Okay. Now, all I know about this book is that, aside from the title, which the title says it all, usually with a lot of these web novel books, they do absurd long titles because they're basically referencing whatever the Goldfinger special ability the main character gets. So, and what I mean by Goldfinger, it's just a special thing that's like the main character's plot thing, where he finds a special ring that turns him into something, or he gets reincarnated with a superpower, or a system, or a this, that, the other. Something out of the ordinary from the normal like world that they are in. So yeah. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, I just know that it's like, of course, he has unlimited skill or profession slots. Now, I don't know if that means... I don't know if profession slot means like side professions like crafting, like, potions or tailoring or gathering resources. I'm not sure if it's that. That's kind of what I assume. But it also could be a translation thing, depending on, it could be that profession is like classes, in which case, warrior, mage, druid, this kind of stuff in like video games. And if that's the case, that would be way more broken than the professions, which is already... The profession thing is also pretty broken, depending on the type of novel. So, yeah. This last one was about a skill tree, where the main character basically, like, learns a skill, like hunting, or, like, learns a spell or a breathing technique or whatever, and then he gets skill points for like leveling it up. Which obviously doesn't exist for anyone else. So it's like really strong, and there's a bunch of other stuff with it, but that's neither here nor there. So you can tell from the title how broken the ability is. Like there's this one novel that has 5,000 chapters. I've read most of it. It's called Infinite Mana or Unlimited Mana. It's like, is it Infinite Mana in the Apocalypse? Let me look at the exact wording here. Yeah, Infinite Mana in the Apocalypse. Yep. Okay. So now, if you know anything about magic, wizards having an infinite number of spell slots or magic or mana or whatever is really busted, because usually they're balanced by the fact that you can't use their abilities all the time, so they have to use a limited resource in order to cast. So you can only imagine how broken this is, and I'll just say, like, this dude literally he's dealing with like galactic level stuff. He's like that powerful with his like broken infinite mana thing. So I'll just say, like, yeah, you can kind of tell with a lot of these novels how broken the ability is. And that's not really why I read them. I mainly read them because I'm interested in the systems behind it, and then also like the way in which the main character kind of unearths all of this like interesting lore about different worlds and explores and gathers resources and builds different things. So that's kind of where like I'm like, yeah, if the main character is traveling around through different planes and like gathering resources, leveling up, and like discovering new things and crafting, like, oh my gosh, I'm like so in. So yeah. Anyway, enough about the novels for now. Again, that I'm gonna make those side content. So if you think like that style of novel is interesting, I have a lot of, well, okay, I'll say the novels that I have 435 items marked down as novels I've read that, they're not counting. So I have like 150 or 200 Audible books. Then there's like the 450 novels there, and then there's a bunch of novels that I've read without bookmarking them or marking them down. So at this point, I've probably read at least 1,000 novels in my lifetime, all around very similar subjects. Obviously there's branching paths, but like, yeah, the general thing is like these kinds of novels. So yeah, maybe someday I'll make like a ranking list of like novels I've liked or something. I don't know. We'll see. But yep. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. All right. Bye.